Also buried in this cemetery, other members of my family, include my brother. I had twin brothers. They were each other's twin, not mine, and they were 8 years old or 7 years older than I am. And they left the farm in 1938 to go to the University of Georgia, where they graduated in 1942, just in time for the war. But my brother served the almost the entire war down at Fort Benning, training second lieutenants. And one of my brothers stayed in the Army, Harry, and he's the one that's buried here. My other brother, Henry, is still alive and kicking at 99 years old. He was born 1922. Harry stayed in the Army after the war, and was in the Army of Occupation in Japan. And then he was on duty down at the Panama Canal Zone, and they were, in those days, this was 1960, and things were happening in Vietnam, and the fort on the Pacific side of the canal had been closed, and Harry's had a battalion of soldiers in, and they went over and had the ceremonies for opening the fort on the other side of the Isthmus of Panama. And on the way back, his plane crashed, and he was killed. And he's buried here, he and his wife, after that accident. I'd like to talk about my wife, Karen, who's buried here. She passed away in 2008. We were married in San Diego, California, in November of 1952, and moved to about a dozen different states, and also I was on 8 different ships, 5 submarines, and 3 surface ships. But Karen is buried here. She was known to her grandchildren as Gammy. As a matter of fact, that term of endearment was used so often that her sons-in-law began to call her Gammy also. But we had 4 daughters, born all the way from Key West to San Diego to New London, Connecticut. And Karen was liked the country, but she married a sailor, and followed me faithfully all of those years, wherever we went, and we established a home, of course. She absolutely adored this acreage. When we buried my mother in 1974, I was in my second tour at the Pentagon, and the night after we buried my mother, we looked at each other. We hadn't done any retirement planning, but I looked at her and I said, why don't we just get out of the Navy and come back here and take care of my dad, who's going to be alone in this old house? And of course, she leaped on the idea and thought nothing of abandoning our Navy life and coming back here. And we named the place Seahorse Farm, because I was an old sailor and we had horses, and Karen was a horseback riding instructor. We had used our horses in a church setting to have horse camp that we could get girls in, and use horses as a means of getting them into the scriptures and other things. But we so enjoyed this place, and it was a great loss when she was only she was 76 when she passed away. and it sure left a big hole in this, in my heart and in the activities of this farm.